Story time. Let me tell y'all about what I was going through when I first got diagnosed with lupus. So we're gonna take it all the way back. When I was young, around 8 years old, I used to have these spells where I would just black out and pass out, and my family didn't know why this was happening to me. So they took me to the doctor, and they was like, I think her iron is low. So they start to give me these iron drops that I had to take. So I grew up just thinking I was anemic. No big deal. As now I'm going through middle school, high school. I'm still having some of these blackout spells, but they weren't as bad. And I did have a lot of like leg pain and on chest and things of that nature, but I didn't take it too bad because I was on the cheerleading squad, I was on the dance team, so it just seemed normal to have some of these aches and pains. So now I'm a young adult, I'm working, I'm a photographer, and I'm just dealing with it. So I'm still thinking my aches and pains and me being really really tired is normal because I'm taking photos at weddings, I'm taking pictures of children, so this is very hard on the legs and the arms sometimes. So it's like these are normal aches and pains until I start having these spells where I'm like, wait a minute, I'm having these really bad chest pains and these headaches, and my throat feels like it's closing up and I can't breathe. So I kept going to the ER. Like, when I tell you I kept going, like to the point where I'm irritating these people because I'm like, something is wrong. And they just kept sending me home and kept telling me, like, nothing's wrong with you. Your vitals are good. Just take ibuprofen, get some rest, don't stress. They're just telling me the basic things that they would tell somebody when they don't know what's wrong with you. So I'm like, nah, they wrong. So I keep going back to the ER. Like, I'm back again. I can't breathe again. My leg is swelling up again. And they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. Or maybe, nah, your iron's a little low. Take a little bit more iron pills or iron drops, whatever you prefer. So they're just sending me home with basic stuff. They don't really know what's wrong with me. So I just learned to deal with the pain. I'm dealing with the pain for some years. Years go by, I'm still dealing with it. So now I'm grown. I done got married now, and I'm still having some of these spells. And I start to, talk to my husband about them, and he's like, you know what? It's like, you still having those pains and stuff, and he's like, go to the doctor. Why won't you just go to the doctor? I'm like, they not gonna do nothing. They just keep sending me home. I've been dealing with this my whole life. Like, I'm all getting all frustrated with him because I'm like, you don't understand, I've been dealing with this my whole life. And he's like, go to the doctor. So now I have better insurance. My husband has great insurance. So I said, let me go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor and I'm telling them what I've been dealing with for a very long time. So the lady was like, have you ever been tested for lupus? And I'm like, what's that? Never heard of it. And she's like, I'm going to run some blood tests on you. She's like, it's going to be a lot of blood tests because she's like, sometimes it's very hard to diagnose because people mistake it for just common aches and pains and arthritis. And she's like, so it's very hard to diagnose. So you will have to take a lot of blood tests. I don't like taking blood tests, but I'm like, if I can get to the bottom of this, why not? So I did a lot of blood tests. So I would go in maybe 1 week and I would take, I can't remember what the tests were called exactly, but they would give me like 12 tubes of blood that I would have to give. And then maybe like in 4 months, she'd have me come back and I'd do it again. And I did this for like roughly a year. So I finally get my results in the mail. I get a package, because so far they were just taking all these blood tests. And when you pulling up your labs, you don't know what you're really looking at. Well, I didn't. Let me say, I didn't know what I was looking at the time. So I get this package in the mail, and it's a big white envelope. And I'm like, what is this? And it was like a letter in there. Now, I can't remember word for word, but I'm going to give y'all how I felt reading it. It basically was like, You have been diagnosed with lupus. Your doctor will call you up and give you more details. We put some brochures in his package to just give you an idea of what lupus is. So they gave me like 3 or 4 different brochures and that letter in that package. I'm in a full blown panic. Panic. What? What is this? Instantly Google. Lupus. What is it? And I'm looking like it don't go away. This ain't a quick fix. There's no cure. Panic. Straight panic. Call my husband. I'm diagnosed with lupus. And he's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm scared. Am I going to die? There's no cure for it. And he's like, what? So now he's Googling and we just looking up stuff. We seeing all types of pictures and so we Googling stuff. Now I make appointment with the doctor. I go to the doctor. I am nervous. I am 100% nervous. So now she's telling me, yes, we went through all your lab works. And she's like, some of your white blood cells are high. And she's just explaining how they diagnose lupus. I am just questioning her like, am I going to die? And she was like, well, we're all going to die one day. And I'm just looking at her like, lady, like, I ain't playing with you. Like, I'm trying to give me the real. And then she's like, well, some people pass away from it, but she's like, most people can live with it. You just have to make some changes and adjustments in your life. But people live with this. So she's like, oh, it's nothing to really just, she says, I wouldn't say that it's life threatening, but it can be. So she's like, breaking it down to me the best that she could. I'm like, okay, well, that felt better when she told me that, people can live with this. You might just have to change some things in your life. So now, sorry, I keep saying so. I am just really trying to remember, your girl, I'm 40 now, so I'm trying to go back a little bit. Now she's giving me some more brochures. She's telling me that, there's 4 types of lupus and things like that. So definitely, she was like, you definitely have one that affects more of your muscles and your organs and things like that. So she's explaining this is where you're getting all the chest pains and pains in your legs and arms and they're swelling up. So now she's going down a list of medications. And then she's like, sometimes they call them flare-ups. Like you're not going to flare up all the time. So that's why when you do have these pains and they're coming out of nowhere, she's like, we call that a flare-up. So I'm like, okay. So she's kind of like breaking down what I've been trying to figure out my whole life. Then she's giving me all these medications and stuff that I could try and this and that. And she's like, you can take this medication, but it might affect your eyesight and you have to go get your eyes checked once a year. Then she's like, this one will do this. And I'm like, I'm not a big fan of medication, so give me something very simple. And then she's like, we have pills that have steroids in it. We have shots. So she's just going on a list. I am just like overwhelmed. Like, I don't like none of it. I don't like none of it. So she's all like, you can change your diet. Certain foods can flare it up. And now she's just giving me a whole bunch of stuff, and half of it's going over my head because I'm still in a panic. Like, how did I even get this? And so I asked her, like, how did I get this? And she's like, it's one of those. So I get a medication. I forgot. It was some pill that they were having me take. I think it was Narco. They gave me Narco that says, hey, when you have pain, you can take this Narco. And then they gave me this other pill that I can't remember the name because I didn't stay on that one very long because that one was a no-no. It was like giving me more chest pain, giving me bad anxiety. And I'm like, I'm getting off of this pill, whatever it is. So I would just take the Narco whenever I had the pains. And then from there, I'm like, I don't want to stay on Narco. I don't like being sleepy. I don't like being like this. I have to work. I have to do all this other stuff. This is not going to work. So then she was like, we're going to do some steroid shots. I'm like, ooh, I don't like the way that sounds. But I said, I'll try it. So I get on the steroid shots. So they give me a shot, like, kind of like on your buttocks on the side, kind of. And I'm like, okay, it was helping. It was taking away the pain. But honey, it was swelling me up faster than a biscuit could swell up. Okay. It was swelling me up bad. And I'm like, I didn't like that. I did not like that. I'm still struggling with that today, trying to get the weight off from being on those steroid shots. And they would have me come in like every 2 weeks. I would have to go down to Kaiser and they would give me the shot, and it was helping, but I was swelling and I didn't like that. And then, because imagine when I had a flare up and my legs would swell up. Now I'm just extra juicy, extra swole because the medicine is swelling me up and so is the flare up. So then I was like, I got to get off of this. So then she gave me some other pill that's kind of like steroid in it, but it's a lighter steroid so it could help me. So I took that for a while and, my hair started like breaking off around the edges with that medication. And I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. So I got off of that. And then so I start just trying to look up things that I could do naturally, like changing my diet and trying to figure out what foods that flare up lupus, and just trying not to take no medication. And it was just rough. It was very, very rough dealing with it. Now I'm at a stage where I was like, ready to become a mother, and it was interfering with that. It was like causing me to have a lot of miscarriages because the body was just not cooperating, and I went through a lot. That's a whole nother story. And that's a whole nother story, just talking about the miscarriages that I went through. But let me stay on topic. So they gave me another medication that says, if you get on this, you don't take it, but when you have a flare, like majority of the other ones, this one is like, keep this in your system, and it's supposed to help the flare, the lupus not flare up. But the problem was there were so many side effects and things that they were tearing up your other organs, like your liver and your kidneys and your eyes, and possibly cause heart attack. And I'm like, why would I want to be on something like that? So I didn't take the medication. Nope, I didn't. So I just started like doing exercise, and this is where I found extreme hip hop, and I started doing step board, and it really kept my flares down. It's still helping me to this day. I am not on any medication anymore. Now I still have flare-ups. Don't get it twisted. I still have flare-ups, but when I have a flare-up now, I just take like, is it Advil? I take liquid gel Advil, extra strength, and I just do like warm baths, or I just lay in the dark, turn the fan on, anything that could just kind of help me stay relaxed. And I just kind of deal with it, to be honest. I just deal with the pain. There's sometimes where I'm just in the bed with the cover over my head, shaking and crying under the cover, because the pain, when I tell you that lupus pain is very painful, it's painful. Like I said in one of my other videos, it's like somebody just stabbing you with knives and dragging them and slicing you. Like, that's how the pain feels, and it's on the inside. And if you get a bad flare like I do, it's all over your body. It's nothing you can do. And there's some times where you can't even walk, you can't stand up, you can't do anything. You're just helpless, and it's very hard to deal with and live with, to be honest. It's extremely, extremely hard. But that's my story. And thank y'all for listening. If you made it all the way to the end. And if you have any questions, comment below. If you have any advice, comment